Hello, everyone. Are we ready, sir? I don't see Mr. Escobar.
It's already 6 o'clock, Mr. Pettis. If you want to start, I'm sure they'll jump in as.
Okay. Good evening, Roma ISD family and guests. We're about to start this meeting. It is now 6 o'clock, and we will call this call meeting of the Roma Independent School District Board of Trustees being held on this Thursday, December 10th, 2020, to order. Let the record show that this meeting was duly posted according to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Government Code Chapter 551. Agenda item number 1, roll call. Board Vice President, Mr. Jaime Escobar. There, audio might not be working. Board Secretary, Ms. Yadira A. Barrera.
Here.
Board Member, Mrs. Clarissa B. Alvarez.
Here.
Board Member, Mrs. Mary Lou Cruz.
Here.
Board Member, Mr. Raul P. Moreno.
Here.
Board Member, Mr. Reynaldo Rodriguez Jr. Board Member, Board Vice President, Mr. Jaime Escobar.
Here.
And myself, Board President, Mr. Ricardo A. Perez, present. Let the record show we do have a quorum in attendance at this meeting by video conference. Agenda item number 2, public comments. Mr. Guzman. We have no comments no one signed up for public
Nobody
comment.
signed up. That's correct.
Agenda item number 3, Texas Education Agency, TEA information item, presenter Mrs. Hart. Mrs. Hart, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to make all of you aware of these items. As some of you probably already know, a district can have a monitor or a conservator appointed by TEA in 3 areas. One area is academics, which Roma has an A in. The other is finance, which Roma also has an A in. The third area is governance, which involves the school board, their procedures, their protocols, their behavior. And in that one, Roma does not have an A, and that's why there is a monitor conservator appointed by TEA. So after attending several of y'all school board meetings, I recommended Lone Star governance training to my boss, the Senior Director of Governance. He went to Jeff Cottrell, who is the Deputy Commissioner, and they both agreed that they thought this would benefit the board, especially with having new members on the board. So I don't know if y'all know what Lone Star Governance is. It's a day-and-a-half training. It's provided by the Deputy Commissioner himself and the Director of School Governance, Morris Lyon. So what they asked me to do is speak to the board. It's a day-and-a-half of the Lone Star Governance, which they commonly refer as LSG. And then they said they would be willing to do, because y'all still haven't done your team of 8 because you've just had board elections. So they said in the afternoon, they could do your team of 8 and the board could knock out everything in the 2 days without, having to schedule another team of 8 or any meeting like that, which I thought was a good idea personally. I spoke to Mr. Guzman last week, and he said he thought that would be a good idea to get it all within the 2-day period. So what they've asked me to do is get on the agenda, which Mr. Perez graciously put me on. And then if I could ask y'all to come up with 2 or 3 dates where all of y'all, because all of you have to attend. It's like the team of 8 training. You all have to attend, and Mr. Guzman, your superintendent, for it to count. The good thing is you won't have to pay for team of 8. You're going to get it free from the deputy commissioner himself. So if y'all could be thinking about some dates, and maybe at the regular school board meeting, if y'all could give me some dates that I could relay to them, because I know the first part of January, they're going to be in Progresso. Because I don't know if y'all are aware, but Progresso has what's called a board of managers. They removed the school board and they put in a board of managers. And so my goal is, let's get the training, let's get everything flowing right, because I don't want that to happen in Roma. So we get our training. I think y'all are going to be a great team working together, and that's going to be in my reports from now on. So we just need to get this training so we can satisfy that requirement. Do y'all have any questions?
Yes, are there any questions or comments from any board member? Well, thank you so very much, Mrs. Hart, for your presentation, and we will do our very best to have some dates available for you by next week, which will be the date for our regular monthly meeting, which will be next Thursday, the 17th. So hopefully we'll have some dates for you by that time.
Yes, sir. I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time we will go into agenda item number 4. This is consultation with legal counsel in regards to status of pending claims, lawsuits involving Roma ISD, section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. No open session is required. The presenter will be Mr. Juan Cruz. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the time is now 6:08 p.m. and the Roma ISD School Board will go into closed session as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071, to discuss agenda item number 4. We respectfully request that our Roma ISD family and guests wait in the virtual waiting room while the board is in closed session. The board is now in closed session.
No, it's going to be in a
I think that Mr. Escobar was placed in the holding room and he needs to be told, Manuel, to log back into the regular board meeting. Mr. Escobar is on already, Mr. Perez.
Yes.
So
Okay.
remember the time.
Do we proceed? I don't see it.
Yes, he's on board. Mr. Escobar, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reconvened from closed session. The time is now 6:40. And for the record, there was no action taken in closed session. All right, we'll go into agenda item number 5. Agenda item number 5 is consideration possible action regarding the hiring of R.T. Barrera Elementary School Principal. Presenter will be Mr. Carlos Guzman, Superintendent. Mr. Guzman, is there a recommendation?
I so move to approve item number 5 as presented.
Okay, for the position of the R.T. Barrera Elementary
I'll
Principal,
second.
I recommend Mrs. Marisa Hinojosa Garcia.
Okay, there is a recommendation by the superintendent to name Marisa Rosa Garcia principal. Is there a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation?
I believe Mr. Moreno did the recommendation. The motion, sorry.
Mr. Moreno,
Make the motion.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Moreno and a second by Mr. Luis Cruz to accept the superintendent's recommendation. Is there any discussion?
I do have a question, and again, my questions are not going to be targeting anybody or anything like that. I just have a question for Mr. Guzman. And based on what was your committee made up of the individuals that were selected?
The question again is what, Ms. Alvarez?
Based on what did you select these committee members?
I just wanted to give opportunity to different individuals to go through the process. As you know, policy strictly dictates that it's the superintendent's recommendation to name these individuals, but it's professional development, it's growth, it's good experience for different individuals to have the opportunity to be there. It's a learning experience for them as well as for myself to see what kind of questions they come up with, and it can help me be better in the future to also interview individuals.
And your recommendation here was Mrs. Marisa Garcia for the superintendent position at RT, which had been your previous recommendation when she was placed as an interim, correct?
That is correct, ma'am.
No further questions.
Which, and just which, at that time, you decided to put an interim instead of opening it up.
That is correct.
Which could have been, and I'm sorry, but which could have been done back then.
It most definitely, it could have been back then, but I felt it was not the proper time and place. And I think we discussed this and I discussed it in public.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify in favor of the motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
And none opposed. 7-0 vote. Motion carried. Agenda item number 6, consideration possible action regarding the hiring of athletic director, presenter Mr. Carlos Guzman, superintendent. Mr. Guzman, is there a recommendation?
Yes, for the Roma ISD athletic director position, I recommend Mr. Max Hebecker.
Okay. Recommendation, Mr. Max Habecker. Is there a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation?
I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Max Habecker as recommended by the superintendent.
Is there a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
At this time, is there any discussion?
Yes, I have a few questions as well. Oh, Mr. Moreno, you want to go ahead?
Well, I just, this is, you know what, and let's be honest, we know how things travel real quick. As soon as that position was open, started getting phone calls and texts, and that's fine because, you know what, again, superintendent has the right to open up every position. But if I'm not mistaken, and of course, plans are meant to be broken, nothing but, I guess when things could have been done, I guess way back, not way back, I guess a couple of months back, COVID started and everything. And I think the plan, or not the plan, I think, well, that's what you told it, that the thing was to, for right now, you know what, there was a plan for interim, as things were going right now. Sports wasn't not top priority, but sports weren't even being played. Things were going to be put with an interim for the meantime, of course, open it up after things settle down. And all of a sudden, you know what, position is opened up, and was there a change, sir? What was it that went on?
The logic here is this, the COVID situation, like you said, is getting worse. Right now, the burden on the principals and all the directors, administrators at the district level is second to none. They have to deal with their own works and responsibilities. On top of that, the COVID situation. Right now, Mr. Saldivar has to assume these responsibilities, and it's very difficult for him to be juggling the principalship and the AD position. For us to wait would be, I would remiss to say, but irresponsible of me not to open the position up at this point. At the beginning of the year, we didn't know where this was going. Mrs. Marisa Hinojosa Garcia took over, since you all are mentioning, took over that position. We had somebody there taking the position. Right now, we have no AD. And therefore, again,
Well,
I am.
but that's what I'm saying,
recommending-
sir.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but just like you said, Marisa was put in as an interim. It,
By
it,
you.
it, it worked out, and this, I think that's what I'm saying. That's the plan that you had, not that we had, or not that you that.
That I had. Exactly. And now my plan right now today is to name, again, the recommendation is to name Mr. Max Hebecker for the athletic director.
And nothing against Max or and nothing against anybody that's being recommended. So it's just the way that things all of a sudden are being it honestly, and we're here to, it looks political, but you know what, that it just doesn't look right. But that's fine. You know, the majority's there. So
Well, I can assure you that it's not political. This is the superintendent's recommendation. And as board members, you can vote for or against.
Mhm. Yeah, and before we do put it into a vote, I do have a few questions. If Mr. Moreno, were those all your questions? My question here now is Mr. Guzman, and to Mr. Guzman as well. And just like Mr. Perez, Mr. Moreno stated, originally, or as previous years, I guess you would decide to place an interim, and in this case, you just decided not to. You just straight off going to go ahead and fill the position. And again, you can, that is your prerogative. Okay, now on this one, on the committee members as well, what was your decision on choosing these people?
Same as the other. This happened over spring break. You got to remember. So I contacted individuals over spring break, over the Thanksgiving holidays.
Mhm.
So everybody has a lot to juggle right now. I decided to build capacity, give some individuals the opportunity to pick their brain, learn from them, and they can learn from the process itself. But I will say one more point on this. Mr. Max Hebecker had applied for this position sometime back, years back, and he was a school employee, and I recommended it at that time, and I recommend him again at this time.
Okay, and that's fine. Now, based on the people that you chose, and again, nothing against neither the candidates, neither the person who's going to fill the position, and much less against the committee members. You originally said that you want to give everybody an opportunity to do these interviews and stuff like that, and I do see that for both positions, the athletic director and the federal programs director, were the same committee members. So there wasn't much opportunity for anybody else. But again, that's your prerogative to choose the people. Now, can you please explain to me how a business person or an excellent elementary teacher would help in choosing an athletic director?
Yes.
And I guess, and I'll add to that, and because that's kind of one of my questions also, sir, and nothing against excellent principal, Blue Ribbon School, doing excellent. But the thing is, where is our high school principal? Where are our middle school principals that actually deal with the athletic director? Had nothing to do involved. And then the other one, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Personnel director.
Exactly. I was just gonna say, Mr. Luis Garza, not involved now in any decisions.
I'll start off by saying this, Mr. Garza, the principals have all gone through this process.
And I'm sorry, real quick, are you letting the president know?
Know what?
That you're going to open up these positions, that you in other words, that you're going to do these committees?
I always let the president know. When you were president, I would let you know. When Mrs.
No, I understand. So Mr. Perez knows. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
And let me go back.
It's been discussed before. That's what I'm saying.
No, it hasn't been discussed.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You, Mr. Perez, have talked about it.
I informed Mr. Perez.
Okay.
Yes, I did inform him. It sounds like you all are trying to turn this thing around, but I'll tell you this.
Sir, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. In 3 weeks, things have turned around in 3 weeks.
Let me finish, Mr. Moreno.
Go ahead.
If the district is where it's at, it's because we're very fortunate to have very good individuals that apply for all these excellent individuals. And there's no doubt in my mind that this was not an easy decision. Now, to answer the question about why the same members, because Mr. Garza, principal from the high school that you mentioned, they've been given opportunities to be in these committees before, okay? And again, I'll say that over the Thanksgiving holidays, I reached out to as few people as I could, because it was over the Thanksgiving holidays. I don't see why it's trying to be misinterpreted as there's a negative connotation on this, when it should be a time for the district to celebrate 3 very highly qualified individuals for these positions. But again, it has, the selection of the committee has nothing to do with the agenda item, and which is my recommendation. So for the 3rd or 4th time, I'll say that my recommendation for the athletic director is Mr. Max Hebecker.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. Okay, if there isn't any further discussion, there is a motion made by Mrs. Yadira Barrera and seconded by Mr. Ray Rodriguez to accept Mr. Guzman's recommendation for the hiring of athletic director. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
4.
I abstain, sir.
Who is abstaining?
I abstain.
1 abstention. And those opposed by the same sign?
Aye.
2.
And let the record show again, let it state that it's not I have nobody, and you know, Mr. Guzman, we had nobody in place to be put there. We had nothing, and that's fine. Nothing against the candidates, nothing against the people doing the interviews, just the process and the way that it was done. Let it be noted.
Moreno, thank you. The motion carries the 4-2 vote in favor and 2 opposed and 1 abstention. We will now go into agenda item. Agenda item number 7. And that will be consideration and possible action regarding the hiring of Federal Programs Director. Presenter again, Mr. Carlos Guzman, Superintendent. Mr. Guzman, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, for the position of the Roma ISD Federal Programs Director, I recommend Dr. Adrian Guerra.
Okay, there's a recommendation by the superintendent. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation?
I make the motion to accept the recommendation by the superintendent of schools.
Is there a second?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second. Go ahead.
There is a motion on the floor and a second to accept the superintendent's recommendation for the hiring of the Federal Programs Director. Any discussion?
I do have a question. Nothing against anybody here. Again, why are 2 members included again in this committee when I believe that, I don't want to say knowledge, but they do have some knowledge of budgets, I guess. But why the same members again?
Okay, I'll repeat myself. It's professional development. It has nothing to do with the agenda item, but I selected these 2 individuals, called them over the Thanksgiving holidays and asked them to help me out. One of them is in the business side of the school. He is familiar with budgets. He is one that has never had this opportunity before. The other 2 individuals have had opportunities to either through these type of activities or other type of activities to make presentations to the board. And he's one that has not. The principals all deal with budgets. Like it was previously mentioned, she is a blue ribbon. She is one of our top, the #1 district, the #1 campus, elementary campus in the Rio Grande Valley. And I felt that she deserved an opportunity to go through this process.
Exactly, sir.
And that's fine, sir. And just for the record, let it be known
that have also dealt with budgets. I mean, my suggestion would have been another principal to also be more empowered to work in the recommendations, in the interviews, but not just the same individual.
And I will take that into consideration, ma'am. You know, there's nothing wrong with,
No.
you know, but if I do two principals, then I can be, you know, it's just a matter of how you look at it. But I understand what you're saying, and I will respectfully take that into consideration next
Yes,
time.
and I know that being the former federal programs director, I knew that this time, either if it wasn't in November or December, it was going to come around where I was gonna have to leave the district, but I still wanted to continue serving the district. But I feel that this is a very critical position. And I took ownership of that position. And I hope that your recommendation is being followed and they take ownership. But I still feel that more principals should have been involved in this interviews. And well, it's a very critical position, sir. And since August, I started training someone because I was already being told that I needed to start training.
Who told you, ma'am?
Excuse me?
Who told you?
The director, my executive director. And I started training in every aspect that I could. And I thought that person was going to be taking over, but things changed, so.
The executive director told you because I told him to tell you to start training somebody. But what you all fail to understand is until you're in this chair, you understand this. I had my other directors coming in because that person had to give up his responsibilities. And who was taking over? Other directors, okay? And these directors were overwhelmed, like I say. It's very easy to think and paint pictures and portray things that are going on because maybe in your minds it's going on, but I do every decision I make, and you know because you work very close to me. Every decision I make, all three of you, every decision I make is in the best interest of the kids of this district and the district itself and the staff.
And I will, and that is correct, sir. When I was president, yes, you did take full interest in the students and the campus, of course. And that'll bring me, if Mrs. Cruz is done with her questions, I've got one or two other questions.
I'm done, thank you.
Again, on your recommendations, sir, and again, nothing against either the committee or the candidates or anybody filling the position. Just like Mrs. Cruz mentioned, I believe somebody was in training as per your instructions to train somebody. And I'm not sure whether that person applied or not applied for this position. Well, the candidates are there, I guess, and no, it wasn't applied. And I'm sure you're doing the best you know to do, Mr. Guzman, and that was one of the things that we wanted, and I think we succeeded during Mr. Moreno's and my presidency to stop micromanaging and all of that. And like Ms. Sherry Hart said, that's the reason she's now here. But and again, I know this is off your recommendation, but if somebody was asked, if you gave the directive to your executive director to train somebody and that was being done, I would have. And I know we've had conversations prior to this where I've always been, and I know I had it with Mr. Escobar in previous years as well, where we're here as leaders to encourage our employees to do what they want to do. Well, not what they want to do, but to grow with the district and things like that. So maybe for future positions and stuff, if anybody is training for a certain position, to encourage these people to apply. I was surprised not to see him on the list, because I'm sure that while he was in training, his work was still getting done by somebody else. I'm sure it was getting done.
Actually, it was getting done, but it was at a high expense because I had a lot of these directors coming to me saying that they just felt overwhelmed, including himself. Again, let me try to explain the process in this. Committees do not make the recommendation. Committees are an opportunity so that I can hear different points of view. All these individuals, you know, every single staff member from Mr. Garza, deputy superintendent, to principals, are given plenty of different types of opportunities to grow, because I'm not going to be here for the rest of my life. I can assure you that. Okay, so we're trying to build capacity in this district, and I think we've done a good job. And if the board, you know, will allow the district to do what needs to be done, We will maintain the A, not only in academics, but in finances. I have two priorities right now as
Sure.
superintendent.
Sir,
My number two priority is the athletic program. And that's why for the second time in several years, I've made this recommendation. The number one priority of mine in the district right now is to work as a team of 8.
Definitely. Just to finish off my comment, Mr. Guzman, you say the committee does not make a recommendation. This is your recommendation. We may want to change the wording on the letter that is presented to us, because it does say, we, the committee, recommend Dr. Adrian for the position. So you may want to change the wording on there.
Let me explain what I mean about that.
Mhm.
Policy is very, very, if you read policy, DC, local and legal, and I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud. It says, the superintendent has the sole authority
Mhm.
to make recommendations to a board regarding the selection of all personnel. And that's what I kind of alluded to. It's really not, the committee can make a recommendation, but ultimately at the end of the day,
It's yours.
I can consider that recommendation, but the superintendent of schools of any district has the sole authority to make the recommendation. That's what I meant by, I would not change the wording.
Right.
They're making
And-
a recommendation to me, and then I make the recommendation.
And all the more so, sir, and I know I had said that was my last comment, is the person who was already being trained as per your instruction to get somebody to train, again, highly encourage those people who are already trying to fill a position. And this would be basically, ultimately your decision, because it is your prerogative to do that recommendation. So again, encourage our employees to continue doing, obviously, if he, I'm not sure if he was directed to train or if he offered to train or however it was, but if he was already there training, obviously he learned something. So most importantly, continue encouraging these people to continue growing with the district. And that's all I have to say.
Most definitely. And all I'll say to end that your comment is this. In his area that he is right now, he's solid. He's top notch. He's very knowledgeable. So when he was training over there, actually was trying to keep afloat and of course himself growing. But for me, I think it would be responsible for me to have him in a new position while he was doing such a wonderful job over here, and then have to hire and open up his position, then I would have 2 rookies in 2 different positions. So that's another thing that I have to keep in mind. But that's all.
And you have to understand, sir, that we represent not just the community, sir. We represent a lot of teachers, and it's kind of weird when you're getting questions from the teachers that, because let's be honest, they ask you, hey, ¿qué va a pasar aquí? ¿Qué va a pasar acá? Desde entonces, desde 3-4 months ago, you know what, this is what's going to happen. There's a plan. You know what, it's not our, you know what, they've already got a plan in place. This is the plan. And in 3 weeks, that plan changes. It's kind of a tough pill to swallow. And then the other thing on the committee, sir, I guess what's kind of tough to swallow is, you know what, the important positions, they all are, but he's actually the brother to the Miss Barrera, if I'm not mistaken, that just won. So that sir, and I understand, sir. I understand.
And then I go back to this, Moreno, you know, it's in, we can try to.
Sir, ya se hicieron los recommendations. Let's go.
Administrator, everybody
So,
has.
I want to keep on representing, and I'll keep on fighting for our teachers, our students,
school district.
our Latin Nation,
Our district.
Or the other
After you're
options
elected.
would have
I
been
will. I
considered.
will.
Let me bring this meeting back to order. Thank you all. For your
Thank you.
comments. You all are passionate, and that's how all board members should be. We all represent the people that voted for us and those that did not. So thank you again, once again, for your commentary, but it is time to move on. Now we have a motion on the floor to accept.
Mr. Guzman, I guess real quick before, or I don't want to ask after because it has to do with this. Mr. Guerra's position was a director position. And I'm just saying, is that one going to be opened up?
That's not part of this agenda item here, sir. So we can bring that up at another meeting. At this time, there is a motion on the floor to accept the superintendent's recommendation for
Go around.
the hiring of the Federal Programs Director by Mr. Jaime Escobar and seconded by Ms. Yadira Barrera. At this time, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
4 in favor, and all those opposed by the same sign. 3 opposed. Motion carries. Okay, agenda item number 8, employment of resignation of professionals and paraprofessionals, Mr. Carlos Guzman.
Yes, at this time, we have none.
Thank you, Mr. Guzman. Then we'll go into agenda item number 9, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, I know we've kind of gotten off track and yeah, you know, we always talked about teachers and we always talked about our students and everything. I think we've kind of gotten off track. We've kind of forgotten about that. Once again, and because this is kind of the only platform I don't do Facebook, really don't do. You know what? Thank you to our teachers that continue to do their excellent work from the house. I know this thing is getting pretty long. It's being extended. That vaccine is out there. Thank you for what you guys are doing. Parents, you know what? Keep up the pushing the kids and everything. And like I said, we thank you for what you guys are doing. I guess pretty soon we'll get back to normal. So once again, with that, I say meeting, I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those
Aye.
same sign. It is now 7:15 and this meeting is adjourned.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Guzman, before we leave, I asked for some things last meeting, some rates, some hourly, and yet those were gonna get to us. They never got to us. So can you get those to us, please? There were some hourly rates.
The attorney rates.
Yes.
The attorney rates. You're muted, Mr. Guzman. You're muted.
Okay, I heard you. The attorney rates, I'll get Mr. Bettis to give me a status why he hasn't turned that into you, but I'll take care of it.
Please. Thank you. Thank you.